Welcome to another episode of Box Seat. Box Seat is a podcast featuring some of the best consumer brands from Britain. We're looking to give up to £1 million in funding to the future consumer brands of tomorrow. Brands that not only want to be profitable, but make a better world. I'm very pleased to be joined by Priya Downes from NUDEA today.
That's absolutely right, yes.
I pronounced that correctly, have I?
Perfectly.
Welcome to our little Muse house.
Which is beautiful, by the way. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Thank you for joining us. So listen, why don't you start, Priya, by telling us about NUDEA? Just give us your sort of, I guess, 90-second elevator pitch. Tell us about NUDEA.
Right, so NUDEA is a B Corp certified women's underwear and sleepwear brand. We design and work with third-party manufacturers to make our products, and we retail on our own website, but also through third-party retailers.
Wow. And tell us about your own personal background. So how did you get into launching NUDEA? Are you the sole founder?
Yeah, so I'm a sole founder. I started the brand back in 2018, started to kind of get the idea for it. My background is luxury goods. So I worked at Burberry and Chanel prior to starting my brand.
The outfit.
Thank you very much. So I've always been kind of a product fashion girl at heart. But actually prior to working in fashion, I worked at the World Bank in Washington, DC. And so it was quite a change of career.
Doing what at the World Bank?
So I was actually an investment analyst. So I was in the kind of financial part, but I spent a lot of time working on projects on the side related to sustainable fashion. And this was back in 2006, 2007, when nobody was talking about sustainability in the fashion world. And the World Bank was at the forefront of it. So they were doing work with fair trade. They were doing work with the Better Cotton Initiative. And in fact, the World Bank came up with the Better Cotton Initiative. And for those that don't know what the Better Cotton Initiative is, it's an alliance that actually looks at how to source cotton better, because cotton is one of the most polluting fabrics in terms of, not polluting, but in terms of water usage, because it takes so much water to grow the cotton, to process it, and then obviously you've got to discharge all that water post-processing. So it's like just a pair of jeans is a fire truck of water. So it's really water intensive. And the Better Cotton Initiative is all about using better farming techniques, working with farmers to look at wastewater usage back into the cycle. And so the IFC, the World Bank, were really at the forefront of that. And so I felt really privileged to be kind of part of that. And it really gave me a window at the time from my day job, a window into something else that I felt much more passionate about. And after a couple of years of doing that, I realized that my heart was in the fashion industry and I really wanted to go in, but not just work in the fashion industry, actually make a change. Having seen the impact of it, I wanted to be part of something that was different and was going to lead a change. And of course, I was very early to the game. Nobody was talking about this. And so when I went off and did my MBA at INSEAD, I actually went to INSEAD, which was a great MBA program. Yeah.
One of the best.
Yeah, it's one of the best. And not only that, it's just incredible people.
It's in Barcelona, isn't it?
It's in France.
Yes.
In France. And in fact, actually, very, very strong alumni, but many of my classmates are one of my first investors. So it's amazing. It's a great program. Yeah. So after INSEAD, I really used INSEAD as kind of a kind of a restart platform to kind of move into the fashion industry. And I really felt that if I wanted to make a change, I had to learn the industry inside out. And that's why I chose to go into industry. And for me, I've always had this idea that sustainability starts from better consumption, comes from buying quality over quantity. So I was very adamant that I wasn't going to work for a fast fashion brand. And so for me, it was luxury. It was kind of, I'm going to learn from the best. I'm going to learn about how to make product well. So I got my first job at Chanel back in New York, because that's where I was living at the time, which is like the creme de la creme of luxury, an amazing experience. But Having sort of been an expat for, you know, a little while, and my husband as well, we both decided it was time to come home and, you know, think about starting a family. And so we moved back. It's been now 12 years. And we moved back to the UK. And of course, no better luxury brand in the UK than Burberry. So I ended up working at Burberry and worked my way up to head of merchandising. But I kind of got to the point where, you know, that entrepreneurial urge that kind of got me wanting to work in the industry kind of kicked in. And so I decided to think about starting something on my own. And I did kind of do a little stint working for a couple of startups, and then just to cut my teeth. And then after working for a year doing that, I was like, right now, I feel like I'm ready to take this on. So it's quite a leap to go from working in corporate for almost, 20 years into doing something on your own. But I felt really passionate about wanting to kind of going back to my kind of World Bank days. I felt really passionate about wanting to do something that would create a change. And when I started, even though up until that point, I'd only ever worked in sort of fashion categories, you know, ready to wear, accessories in my time at Burberry and Chanel, I really felt like the world didn't need another fashion brand. There was a lot of fashion brands out there. I have a great wardrobe of trench coats and dresses, but what I realized was that underwear was so overlooked. And I had just had 2 kids. I was thinking about a third one. I didn't know my bra size. I asked my friends, you know, where can I get a decent bra? And nobody could tell me a recommendation that they actually loved. And I just thought, what a, you know, for someone like me who loves fashion, who values what I wear, yet my underwear drawer is so embarrassing. I thought there's got to be a different way. And that's really how the foundations of NUDEA started. And then I started looking into it, and the more I researched, the more I realized there just wasn't a great brand out there doing things in a more modern way. You know, bra fitting just felt like it was still stuck in the dark ages. I mean, why do, you know, when you can get anything you want at a touch of a button, why do you still have to go into M&S or your high street store to get fitted, you know? And so many women are wearing the wrong size, and they don't want to get fitted. And, you know, I felt like the models that you see are all airbrushed, and I don't look anything like that, particularly after 2 kids. So I was just like, there's got to be a better way to do it. And that's kind of how NUDEA was born. And in terms of, you know, particularly the sustainability front, I think it is a category that needs to prioritize it, but more than any other category, because you can't rent or donate underwear. So all that happens is all this extra buying of bras that you don't wear just ends up in landfill. And so it just felt to me that it was such a wasteful category, and there just had to be a better way. So, you know, NUDEA is all about, you know, buying less but buying better. So, you know, all our bras are kind of designed for that kind of quality, longevity. It has features that make it that you can wear, you know, multi-ways, so you don't have to buy 3 bras, you just have to buy 1. We work with our customers to educate them about the importance of fit. Get your fit right. You have something that you'll always go to and that you're comfortable wearing, and so you aren't digging around, you know, in 20 bras and only wearing 1 on repeat. And, you know, we also work with them about, like, how can you take care of your bras and how can you dispose of your bras more responsibly. So we really kind of, from the get-go, have kind of embraced that. And that's how NUDEA started, really.
I've got so many questions. I don't know where to start. It's weird because my own background was, I got a poor degree in environmental science, and that was at Sussex University, and there's quite a famous school development studies there, and the dream was to go to work for, or the people on that course's dream, not necessarily my dream, was to go work for the United Nations or World Bank. So yeah. To get on and actually work for the World Bank at a young stage is incredible, and then to go and get an MBA from NCAD, which is probably in Europe regarded as the most premier place to get an MBA from. is incredible. And then to go and change your career and go and work for Chanel and then, have a family and then start your own brand. Wow, you're Superwoman. You really are. It's incredible. But it begs a question, which is that change from working at the World Bank as effectively an analyst and then doing your MBA and then eventually becoming the merchandising director of Burberry. It's a massive change of direction.
Yeah.
How did you, overcome that? How did you make that transition?
Well, it's tough. I think you've got to be humble, right? I think, I made that career change, in my late 20s. And obviously as somebody who, and then at that point had an MBA going into these luxury brands, I think you have to, for me, I had to be quite humble and say, look, I'm starting from the bottom. I don't know this industry. And I think that was a massive plus point because, going in with this arrogance of, well, I've had a 10-year work history. I've worked at the World Bank. I should be getting paid more. I should be a senior person. It was almost like having to start again. And I think it's really important to have that humbleness about it and go, no, actually, I've made this decision. I want to do it for myself. I'm really passionate about it and I want to learn. And yes, I'm not a young 21-year-old coming in like some of the interns or the graduates, but I don't mind putting up with being treated like one because I am one, really,
So tell me about some of the sustainable sort of qualities of NUDEA as a product. What do you do to promote sustainability? How is your product different from other brands?
Yeah, so we're really fortunately one of the only B Corp certified lingerie brands globally. And
why do you think B Corp is so important?
I think it's what consumers understand. And I think in a world where there's a lot of greenwashing, consumers are what we find and what we've seen in the market is that they're quite numb to things. And so if you say just the word sustainable, if you say the word, I don't know, made better or, recycled or whatever, I think to them, it doesn't impact them because they're so numb to it. I think they don't really understand it. Whereas I think B Corp provides, there's still a lot of work to do with the B Corp movement in terms of getting more awareness about it. But for sure, we found that as B Corp has grown as a movement, we've seen more and more customers get drawn. Like our top search term is sustainable bras. So it's definitely it's gaining movement. I don't think it's the reason for our existence, but I do think that people are, in a world of greenwashing, B Corp helps to stand out a bit.
I mean, I'm actually personally quite critical of B Corp, even though Box Fund is a B Corp.
Yeah.
And the reason why is there's obviously an economic model behind being a B Corp. We have to pay to be a B Corp.
Yeah.
And I think if you set yourself up to be a force for good, and that is your tagline, you've got to be a force for good in everything that you do, not just about climate issues.
Of course.
Sustainability issues, but also in terms of some political issues. So they've been quite outspoken when it comes to Russians' aggression in Ukraine, which totally agree with, but yet they've not mentioned anything about, Israel and the genocide that's happening in Gaza. So I personally find that very hypocritical, because if you're saying you're a force for good, be a force for good. Don't just be a force for good occasionally when it suits your shareholders. Be a force for good throughout. But let's beyond B Corp, the word, which is my little bit of a pet hate at the moment. So the message out there to all the B Corp people is get your house in order. Don't set yourself up to be criticised. But let's speak about sustainability and your product.
Yeah, so I think all our products are used from dead stock and recycled fabric. So we own that's minimum. And with and we also use organic. So we only use organic or recycled fabrics in all our products.
Or natural?
Yeah, so natural. So
okay.
So for example, our sleepwear is 100% compostable. The elastic is made from rubber. The fabric is 100% GOT certified cotton. And so it's either natural or it's recycled. And I think we're part of the ETAM accelerator program. And we're working with.
What is the ETAM?
So ETAM. I don't know if you remember. I don't know if you remember back in the day. ETAM Group used to have Tammy Girl on the high street. So ETAM is a big French lingerie brand that have almost up to. I think they've got more than 300 stores globally. They're like the European version of Victoria's Secret. So we recently got accepted to their accelerator program, and we're working with them at the moment on new technologies that are coming out with respect to cups and elastics, because there's a lot of work to be done at the moment, and it's not perfect, on sourcing every single bit of the bra from sustainable and natural sources. So unfortunately, we're up against the fact that there aren't a lot of options for things like elastics.
Yeah.
So a lot of that's just recycled at the moment, but we want to be looking at sourcing that from a natural source. So everything we do is either recycled or organic. And that's no mean feat, because, a basic, like some of our bras have almost 20 components, from the metal, the elastics, the hook and eye. And so you have to look at sourcing all of that in a more responsible way. And it's extremely complex. And I think that's what kind of stands us apart from, another bra brand that's only doing little bralettes made from one fabric, because that's a very simple supply chain for me. Something like this is extremely complex. And, we're not perfect today. And I think, what we want to do is keep on striving to do things better. So we're working with ETAM Group at the moment to work on the next generation of a bra that's actually made from something that's natural, which is difficult to do because natural fabrics don't have stretch. And when you're thinking about bras, they need to be able to stretch and perform. And generally that comes from man-made fabrics. So that's why at the moment our choice, we're using recycled and dead stock. But we want to be doing that better. So we're looking at other ways that we can get that from natural sources. And they are things coming to market. So.
And I totally know what you mean, because we've recently backed a plant-based chewing gum brand, Nude, which is plant-based and it's an alternative to the plastic chewing gum that you have out there. But the problem is plastic chewing gum, you can chew it indefinitely because it's plastic. You're chewing on plastic. Yeah. And with the plant-based version, it's got the texture of it, but it biodegrades. And after chewing on it for 5 minutes, it will biodegrade in your mouth. So it's a limited chew. So it's the same with an elastic band. Yeah. And the alternative would be using natural rubber or latex. Okay, but it's not got the elasticity that would happen in an unnatural product like a synthetic elastic.
Exactly. And I think at this point you also have to ask yourself, do you want to buy a bra that perhaps is completely natural and lasts 5 washes and then just gets thrown out? Is that better than buying something that actually is perhaps not made naturally, but it's made better in terms of quality, and it's made to perform and made to last, and you do get a good 2 or 3 years out of it? So it is also about going back to that whole buying less but buying better, because I think ultimately the way we're going to really create a change is to buy more thoughtfully in the first place, right? Don't overbuy. And I think if you buy something that doesn't really perform, then you'll just end up buying more of it.
So your USP when it comes to your product is that you are trying to make the most sustainably sourced bras out there or underwear out there that's available in the marketplace.
Yeah, and that's comfortable and it fits well for the mainstream bra wearer, yes.
Okay, totally get it.
Yeah.
A program that I've just recently watched, which has totally inspired me, is a documentary on Netflix. I think it's called Buy Now.
I actually watched it.
Did you? After we spoke?
Yeah. And it was really eye-opening.
It is eye-opening because effectively it's a whole new way of looking at consumerism, which is really trying to say when you buy a product, what happens at the end
Yes.
of that product. And the reality is now in this sort of fast fashion world that we're living in at the moment, so many buyers are buying things and they're throwing away, and they're not thinking about what happens to that product at the end. And we can't keep that up because we're just going to have mountains of you know, used products. There's mountains of fast fashion in Africa now, you know.
Yes.
So I mean, I would have thought that this is really at the heart and soul of what you're doing at your product. You're really thinking about what happens to the end of that product. Is it biodegradable? Talk to us about how that's influenced you.
So I think it's a whole journey from starting from fitting all the way to disposal. And we're taking our customers on that journey. So I think let's start with fitting, for example. So 80% of women are wearing the wrong bra. Women go through 6 bra sizes in their life on average. Anything from monthly cycles to pregnancy, weight loss, surgery can cause you to change your bra size. It just takes half an inch. And so something like 2/3, we did our own research, by the way. So in the year that I formulated the brand, I worked with about 1,000 women collecting data points. And what we found was it's very true that 80% of women were in the wrong size, but 67% of people hadn't been measured in over 5 years. And so what this contributes to is a habit of overbuying because you don't know what size you are. And as a result, you're walking around in bras that don't fit you or uncomfortable, and you probably do have way too many that you don't need. So how do you get that right? How do you help customers buy less but buy better? Well, it starts with fit. So we have developed our hero product, which is the fit tape, and this is something that no one else has in the market. I developed this through kind of my own research and watching fitters fit women and watching women trying to fit themselves using a standard tailor's tape, which, by the way, the bra measuring system was developed in Victorian times based on shirt sizing. And it involves taking 2 measurements using inches, your underbust and your overbust. And then you have to do maths to convert it into a bra size, which seems so ridiculous.
I'm nodding away here as I know what you're talking about. Well, explain it to the viewers.
It's just ridiculous. And, what we found was even with the best laid instructions, the women that we work with, nobody could get it right, really. And so having watched a fitter fit them and seeing the common mistakes that people make on themselves, I developed this tape. And it's really easy to use. It's got a 98% accuracy in self-measuring. And it allows customers to get their fit right at the beginning.
Have you patented the tape?
We have patented.
Well done.
Yeah,
well
we
done.
have patented it. And so it means that when a customer starts a journey with us, we're already promoting that message of let's get you the right fit, and it also helps.
How do they get the tape?
So they could get it on our website for £5, and then, which is a token amount, and then they get that money off their first purchase of a bra.
Clever.
And they come back. So it's a brilliant customer acquisition tool, but it also builds loyalty. It also builds trust. We're kind of saying to them, look, you don't have to buy a bra that you don't know what size you are. Take our tape, give it a go, and then when you're ready, come back. And customers do appreciate. This is a category that needs a lot of trust. And so the tape also has that kind of indirect benefit. So the tape helps them start their journey right.
So that reduces waste.
It reduces waste, reduces returns.
Yeah.
Right. And it reduces overbuying. So we're trying to promote that message of buy better at the beginning. And then once you get your bra, every bra comes with a wash bag and very clear instructions. So our standard is you get a wash bag with your bra purchase. And that allows you to take care of your bra, because most people just stick it in the washing machine and don't think about it, which causes so much damage, but also releases microfibers into your washing machine and into water. So we have a bag that helps protect the bra as you wash it. So increases
like when I put my trainers into the washing machine, I put it in a bag.
Yeah, exactly. And so it helps promote that message of buy better, take care. Take care of your product so it performs for you, supports you longer. And then when you're ready to, when it has kind of reached its life, the end of its life, which hopefully for our bras isn't too soon, because, you know, we do use quality materials. We do use fabrics that last. The average bra on the high street lasts about 3 months. You know, ours would last upwards of, you know, a year, 2 years, depending on how often you wear it. And then we offer recycling to all our customers and any prospective new customers. So we will take your bra back and we will recycle it. So we're
how much can you recycle of a bra?
So the fabrics can, unfortunately, are very hard to recycle, like, into a new product, because obviously once it's reached its end of its lifespan, it's a lot of the bras that we get back are not biodegradable, right? Because we also accept bras from other brands. Our products, obviously, not everything is biodegradable. So the first thing to do is obviously split the components. We work with a third-party company, TerraCycle, that helps with that. And so what they do is they split all the componentry up, so all the hooks and eyes, all the cups, all the metalwork. And then the fabric gets used for things like mattress stuffings and things like that, because once the elastic has reached its performance, you can't recycle it into other products. And then the hooks and eyes, some of them can be recycled into production again. It depends, because you get a lot of hooks and eyes that come back that are completely broken as well. So it is on a case by case basis, but it's about splitting
the metal.
You can recycle the metal. You can recycle the adjusters as well. So there's parts of the bra that you can recycle, and our ambition in the long term is to be able to recycle our own componentry back into our own supply chain. So, you know, there are things like this, for example, which will never change. It's gold plated, that you can reuse time and time again. So we would love to kind of recycle that, take it back,
love that,
and put it back into our own bras, as you would with all the componentry, right? But we're just not at that scale yet where it's cost effective and we can do that. But you know, at the moment we're offering that solution. So we're already thinking about that end of life, and that whole shopping journey is, you know, also about educating customers about the whole thing. So as you said about the buy now, it is about at the outset thinking, how are you going to get to, you know, how you
customers don't think about that.
They just don't think about it, right?
And I think that's what the revolution that's going to be coming. We're going to get a lot more of an eco-conscious customer as they get more information. Certainly my children are a lot more eco-conscious. And you're suddenly going to get that customer that thinks, well, what happens with this at the end of life? You know, why am I buying fast fashion? Like, my son always buys vintage. He wants to buy vintage clothing rather than new clothing. And I don't know. I mean, I absolutely, for all those people that haven't watched that documentary by now, please watch it.
It's a great documentary.
I think it's an incredible documentary. I was totally inspired by Yves Chouinard, the founder of Patagonia. And effectively, by actually thinking about end of life, it affects all the decisions you make in your product. Because you start with, in the case of Patagonia, they've now got a lifetime guarantee. And as a result of that, they're making sure to use better products at the beginning. They're making sure that their products can last longer. And they haven't seen their business suffer. Actually, it's a complete reverse. People now realize they're buying a quality product with Patagonia. You're going to have to pay more, but you know what? It will, in the long run, save you money because the product will last longer. I mean, and even Yves, when he was interviewed, I think was wearing a pair of shorts that he repaired from 20 years ago, you know. And love it.
And I think he's so inspiring, and actually I think he's one of my inspirations for the brand too. I feel like it is about buying better, buying quality, but thinking about things up front, you know. And it goes back a little bit to my luxury background. I mean, when you think about luxury brands and the quality they give you in terms of product, you know, you have to invest up front a bit more, but just that little bit more investment and paying what it truly costs to get something quality is going to pay dividends for, you know, forever.
Let's go back to the customer. I'm a great believer in the phrase, you've got to be special to your customer. Why do customers buy from NUDEA? Is it because of styling? Is it because of fitting? Is it because of sustainability? What are the key decisions? What are the most important ones?
Comfort,
okay.
Absolutely.
That's your USP. That's what makes you special.
That's what makes us special. And I think, you know, sustainability is great, and I think it should underpin everything we do, but that's not why a consumer buys. Their primary reason to buy is value, that value proposition, right? What are they getting for that money? And for us, our customer buys into comfort.
Okay.
And especially since COVID, women just want comfort, right? They want to walk around not worrying about whether their bras are poking them or ripping it off at the end of the day. They want to be able to feel confident that they're getting a product that performs and supports them, whether they're an A cup or whether they are busty as an H cup. They want to feel supported.
In my small way, I know what you mean. I buy all my underwear from Marks and Spencer's because it's very nice and comfortable, especially the autograph range. While we're chatting about Marks and Spencer's,
Yes.
I've noticed, don't ask me why, that they've also started to launch their own brand. Well, they've obviously had their own brand of lingerie, but definitely more of a comfort-orientated range of underwear. How are you going to compete against sort of own brands?
So I think that's true. I think a lot of this comfort revolution is everywhere, and I think in a crowded market, there's always going to be people that come in with that proposition too. And I think M&S obviously dominate the UK market is 35 billion, and M&S is just 35 million, right? Yeah. I mean, sorry, M&S owns 38% of that. Sorry, and so it's a huge market share, right? So they've always been the kind of, I guess, historical go-to brand. But I guess that the thing that sort of sets us apart is we're a little bit more forward thinking in design. They're still kind of stuck with their kind of aesthetic as a little bit old school. And I think we have that sustainability element, which they don't have, right? So I think that's which is really hard for them to have. So I think that's what kind of stands us apart from them. Okay. Is that we offer a no compromise solution. It's about good fit, good design, and it's sustainable. So
who are your main competitors in terms of branded underwear?
Brand underwear. So, Skims obviously has kind of exploded into the scene 5 years ago, and they're obviously a big competitor, but they're not sustainable, and their market is very much Gen Z. We're not a Gen Z brand. Our target customer is 25 plus. We focus on customers that have migrated on from fast fashion, who are looking for something a bit more thoughtful, a bit more supportive. Our kind of core customer is like Yummy Mummy. And then there's this other kind of branded brands like Blue Bella, Lemonade Dolls. But I think a lot of them are very focused on sexy bedroom, which that's not who we are. I think, that's great. That's for an occasion. We're much more everyday. We're much more for that customer who wants something they can put on every day, takes them from day to night. And like I said, you sort of put it on and forget about it.
Okay. So we've really got the picture now in terms of the product.
Yeah.
It's really comfortable, sustainably sourced product. Okay. Let's speak about the customers.
Yeah.
So how are you acquiring your customers? What are your is it a direct to retail, direct to customer? Are you wholesaling? What are your channels?
So at the moment, online is about 42% of our sales.
Wow.
And the rest of it is through retailers. Our biggest partner is John Lewis. And John Lewis is a great fit because in terms of price point, our bras are between £30 to £50.
Yummy Mummy goes there.
Yes, there's a great customer alignment in terms of John Lewis. And John Lewis now is about a quarter of our sales, in total. So they're a big partner of ours. And we also have other smaller boutiques and independents that we stock with.
Do you have concessions within John Lewis?
No, we sell online only at the moment with them. Yeah. So we're not actually in store, but that's something that we're looking to.
That'd be fantastic for you.
Yeah, and that's our next step.
To really grow the brand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really believe in the power of physical retail. Because you've got the benefit of all of their customers coming in, which are absolutely perfect for you, who might not know about NUDEA. And they've got an opportunity to see it there, touch and feel the product for the first time.
I think physical retail is really important. I think particularly for this category, there's still a huge segment of people that want to try on product. And so I think that physical presence is quite important. And we have a boutique that we stock with called The Pantry in Islington, which packs a punch with our sales for us. And I think the beauty of them is they know their customer. They offer a really bespoke service when it comes to bra fitting. And I think it's important to be present in those kind of stores because there's a huge population of people that still go to their local high street lingerie store. And so, you know, we have 40 stockists, both here and in the US actually now, but mostly here. And
are you in Selfridges?
Not yet, no, but we would. I think they would be absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, totally.
We're talking to them about doing something. Actually, we're talking to them and also M&S on their third-party brand offering. And so I think that physical presence is so important. And so at the moment, 40% of our sales is online, and the rest is obviously through other retailers. A lot of our D2C customers we get through. Actually, we've done very, very, very well through influencers and press, and those are kind of our most trusted channels for getting qualified traffic. It's mostly organic.
Paid.
Yeah, we don't. We haven't had big budgets to spend on marketing, and honestly, like with Meta as well, because of the category we're in, our ads get screened. And we've had in the very early days our account even been banned, which is to me a little bit unbelievable given that, you know, Meta allows all sorts of things to get through, but tasteful lingerie ads on women, no. Obviously,
that's so hypocritical.
I know.
Really
I mean,
is.
Honestly, I could write a whole
how many
thing.
videos when you're looking on Instagram, the first feed will be of a voluptuous woman just to entice you in, but yet to actually show sustainable, comfortable underwear.
Yeah,
that's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous, and I mean, obviously, we've learned to circumvent the bots now, and I think as we've got a bit more sophisticated on ads, we understand what works and what doesn't. But we've also learned in that process, or I've learned that we can't rely too much on Meta because you just don't know when that will change. So we've never been a big Meta client in terms of money.
So you say Meta, is it mainly Instagram?
It's mostly Instagram, social. I mean, we do ads, but we don't, it's not whilst we get quite a lot of traffic from the ads, most of our converting traffic and most of our awareness comes from press. We have had really good press. We've been on the BBC. And we get really good coverage from influencers. So influencers who talk about us. I mean, you have to remember this category is trusted. People don't go, "I love your bra. Where did you get it from?" You know, it's about me talking about the bra I'm wearing and telling my friends about this brilliant, you know, bra brand that I found. So it's always going to be a category that's built on word of mouth, on trust, referral. So the channels that work best for us are things like affiliates, influencers or press. And, you know, we have done a few like partnerships with like Sheerluxe, for example. And that's brilliant because Sheerluxe is a qualified audience. And people trust them, right? So it's about finding media partners that are like that. They are a much better source for us in terms of traffic than Meta, for example. So that's where we've got most of our traffic from to date.
And in terms of profitability, which channel is more profitable for you? The sort of wholesaling side of it or the D2C?
100% D2C, 100% D2C. And we have actually got very good product margins. And so the maximum profit for us will be D2C. And obviously with John Lewis and all our other partners, they take profit from us. So they're definitely our most profitable channels. It's D2C.
Yeah, because eventually you want to try and migrate as many customers to being regular buyers on your own site.
100%.
And they get more choice. Yeah.
100%.
But you want to avoid the cost of acquiring those customers, which is really expensive sometimes.
Yeah, and I think that's why we went into working with retailers, because again, retailers, going back to what I was saying about trust, retailers help build that trust, right? Yeah. So they have a role in acquiring customers and building brand awareness, because let's take John Lewis, for example. People trust John Lewis. if they, and I think that helps us, you know, get, even our own customer goes, oh, great, you're on John Lewis, you're with John Lewis. You must be a bona fide, trustworthy, you must have great products.
And it's sort of going back to that physical retail.
Yeah.
I think Richard Branson once famously said, never compromise on your brand. And I think one of the benefits of physical retail is you can touch and feel that product and try it on.
Yeah.
And it's hard to do that online unless you're buying it and returning it constantly.
Yes.
You get the benefit of being in store, trying it, touching it. And certainly for acquiring customers for the first time, you've got a really comfortable product. That's going to be really key for you.
Yeah, and I think in our pipeline, we want to look at opening a store. We've done a lot of pop-ups, so we've tested a lot of, you know, what physical formats work and what areas work in terms of location. And we've still got more testing to do, don't get me wrong. I think it's always important to continue doing pop-ups. But we do find that actually, you know, we know the power of physical presence because we've been there and we've done it. And even in the 2 or 3 days we do these pop-ups, even the short duration of it, we do acquire a lot of new customers, you know, coming in, feeling and touching the product, getting a sense of the fabrics and how soft they are. And because you don't get that looking at it online.
Let's talk about sort of sales breakdown. Is it all the UK at the moment? You're doing any international sales?
Yeah. So we're turning over $1 million. And
very good.
And we're hovering around break even. So we've obviously spent the last 5 years kind of building the brand, and 90% of that is UK. We launched with Nordstrom online because we've been seeing a lot of American interest organically. We don't advertise in America; it's way too expensive. It's a whole kettle of fish. But we've built up a lot of organic interest. So we do see D2C sales coming in from the US. Let's see what happens now with Trump's tariffs. But Nordstrom allows us to kind of test that market a little bit more. It's early days, but it's doing quite well and it's picking up. It's sort of giving us that opportunity to kind of prime us for when we are ready to go there. But it is mostly the UK.
Let's move on to team now. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're the founder.
Yes.
Who's the team that you've got around you? Talk to me about some advisors that are involved.
Yeah. So one of my key focuses as a business on a commercially was always to kind of remain work to profitability, right? So we've always always kept lean, never overspent, never tried to build huge teams of overinflated C-level people. But so at the moment it's myself and 2 full-time employees that support me. And then I've got about 5 consultants that kind of work with me on a fractional basis. One of them is Jo Watley, who actually worked with me at Burberry on the merchandising side, and she's coming in and she helps me a lot with ranging, with product, with margin planning, and some of the more higher level things. And she was ex Ralph Lauren, has a strong luxury background. I have a fractional head of marketing who used to work at LVMH and TAG. So again, very strong luxury experience. Both of those ladies work with me, kind of a couple of days a month.
So product marketing.
And then my head of sourcing, who I do have on a regular basis as a part-time, she was ex-head of sourcing at Marks and Spencer's for lingerie. So she's now in her 60s, so she's had a long history of working with lingerie brands. She also has options in the business, so she's been with me since the very beginning and very invested in, with me for the future. And in fact, Jo and Marina, who I mentioned earlier, are also very much, part of this journey with me. And Lorraine, my head of sourcing, she's been really instrumental in the factory relationships. She's got obviously contacts everywhere when it comes to the lingerie industry. And so she's been really instrumental in getting us good suppliers, getting us good supplier contacts, particularly, which is harder when you're thinking about the whole sustainability thing as well. So she's quite key to the business. And so I think because of my background, I've been able to bring in people from the industry.
And what about operationally? What about, dealing with order warehousing? What about dealing with the financial side of things?
Yeah, so I have one of my full-time employees is a finance manager, so she deals with all my financials, and then I do have kind of a CFO who works with me on a very kind of a fractional basis, who kind of helps to sign off accounts and management accounts, etc. And then I have a board made up of my existing angel investors. So I've raised angel funding before EIS funding, and I've got James, who I think was the initial person who introduced us, who is a bit of a super angel. So he has a group of angels and he sits on our board, but he brings with him a lot of experience around the fundraising side, and his background is kind of financial. And then I've got Monique, who represents Cornerstone Partners. They're a fund that invests in underrepresented founders, like women and women people from ethnic minorities. Yeah. And then we've also got a group of board advisors who help us, as and when is needed. One of who is Francesco Giancari, who was the ex-CEO of Anya High March, and the CMO of Bowden, who is helping us massively on digital marketing and that area, and he kind of gives us a lot of advice on on agencies or anything to do with the digital marketing side, which obviously is not my background. So so we have a really, really stellar board and stellar group of board advisors, as well as people from the industry. And operationally, I have to say that I've taken on quite a lot of the operations myself. So up until last October, we were doing our own fulfillment.
Wow. Where from?
From my garage.
Wow.
So I'm lucky enough to have...
But an important learning lesson. Rather than outsourcing it straight away, you realise how you've got to organise it.
And so that's... I've now moved to a 3PL who think I'm an absolute pain in the ass because I can dissect everything they're doing.
Yeah. They're third-party warehouse.
They're third-party warehouse.
Good.
And the reason why was just a needs must thing. When I started out, no 3PL would take me. I have 50 bra sizes, a huge amount of SKUs. And, if you think about a 3PL's model, it's all about, usually churning through one SKU over and over again. That's not who we are. We have a multitude of SKUs. Sometimes you might have a 32G sitting there for a few weeks. It doesn't work like that. And so I think at the very beginning, when we first started out and we had no trading history, a lot of 3PLs just wouldn't touch us.
Yeah.
And I did...
It's too small.
We're just too small, and we didn't have...
Too fiddly.
And too fiddly and too...
It's like accessories.
Exactly. And then I said to them, oh, well, I want you to wrap it nicely, and, we're a premium... They're like... So it was working out too expensive. So I ended up going out with one, and this was pre-COVID. So I launched the brand in September 2019, and this is a true founder story. Boris announced lockdown, and I was working with this 3PL, and it just wasn't working really, because I was down there every week because I had problems and nothing was going well, and it was so expensive. And I said to them, well, what's going to happen? And of course I was bottom of the pile when it came to priority for fulfillment. And they just said, well, look, in all honesty, we can't say we're going to be able to do your orders. And I thought, look, it's COVID. We're going to see a surge. We're all about comfort. We're all about fit. I know that, we need to be able to fulfill online orders. So I went down there, rang a man with a van 2 days before lockdown and said, right, we're going down there. We're getting our stock. And the 3PL were like, what do you mean you're on your way? I'm like, I'm on my way. I'm coming down. I'm going to get my stock. And they said, well, none of it's packed. I'm like, well, get on with it. And they were like, okay. So literally went down there, stuck all these boxes into a van, drove it into my garage with no plan whatsoever. I had nothing set up, no careers, nothing. And then fast forward to 6 months ago, I'd set up racking.
How it works.
Yeah, and I did.
That's the only way to learn sometimes.
Absolutely.
I started off in a market store. I know firsthand what it is like to have a stock just sitting there, not selling.
Well, and I can feel that, right?
You can see it.
And so now when I work with my 3PL, I'm very meticulous about, constantly looking at what's turning. And like, because I have got the space, I still store a lot of bulk storage. And so, I have quite an efficient model in terms of replenishing them, and I'll keep a close eye on it because I know what costs, right?
One of the big issues that you're going to have, or I imagine you're going to have, is cash flow and managing your cash flow, i.e. you might be having to pay for your products beforehand. You might be then giving credit out to your wholesale customers. You might not be paid for up to 90 days in some cases. How are you dealing with your cash flow?
So one of the great things is that we have a supplier relationship that we don't have to pay for products until 6 days after delivery.
6 days?
60 days.
60.
Yeah.
Well done.
So we're not actually having to put any money up front on production, which is brilliant.
Supplier.
We've got a great supplier. And so we're very grateful for that. So in terms of, obviously it took us time to build to that. Like, it didn't happen straight away. We had to build good credit terms, but we've got to that point now. And that's been the case for the last 2 years. And so that massively helps with cash flow management. And our biggest supplier, John Lewis, is on an online weekly billing. So to be honest with you, yes, we obviously do need to manage cash flow, but as things stand at the moment, we don't have huge waiting to exactly. So
you don't need to use invoice discounting or factoring or get a trade financing.
Exactly,
and maybe at a later stage you can get that. It's interesting. We had that same problem with Nude, which was we were paying the factory and we weren't getting our money for, say, up to 60 days later. So they were constantly requiring a cash call. So one of the things we've done is try to negotiate sort of credit terms with our supplier, and it's been absolutely key to that business.
I think that was a big unlock for us. It took us a while to get there. We had to negotiate too, but you have to build your history with them, right? I think the moment we don't pay, I'm sure it will. This is it. It's very fragile, but it is, and then obviously when that payment is due, it's 100%. So it's a big whack on cash flow, but at least you can plan for it. And it's not, You
want to get to the holy grail, positive cash flow, getting paid before you have to pay. That's the absolute.
Well, this is it. Yeah.
The key thing. Just out of curiosity, how are you doing your buying side of things in terms of making sure that you're paying the correct price? I was a great believer in open book costings. I don't know if you ever did that before, where we just worked with the same suppliers on a guaranteed margin, and that was it. And they just gave us all their costings, and we said, okay, if we're doing this volume, we're going to pay you this margin. We're doing that volume, we're paying you this one. It was all open book.
Wow, that's amazing.
It really worked. Let me tell you, it was such a secret.
Yeah, we don't unfortunately have that because we work with one supplier who has their own nominated suppliers that they work with. Yeah. We would get kind of an all-in price, and we don't always get the breakdown of that. Yeah,
so almost like using a buying service where they have multiple, a sourcing company.
Yes, exactly.
As opposed to working directly with a factory.
Correct, yeah.
But you can still do it with them.
Yeah, we probably can. But so far, no. I think in terms of the way we manage costing is we go in with a very clear margin target, and we know exactly what we want to retail it at. Yeah. And then we just work backwards and say, you've got to hit, you've got to work out a way to hit the cost, which is a very traditional way of doing things.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that way.
Yeah, but and so far, we've been able to, it's taken a while again because it's about volume and the rest of it, but and there's definitely scope to improve. Yeah. And that's, I think, will come with volume.
I would really encourage you. It's amazing what an eye-opener it is.
Yeah.
But one of the secrets of our success at Box Fresh was that we were really good at sourcing, and we never changed factories.
Yeah.
Or hardly changed factories. Why? Because we didn't work on that traditional model of, look, this is our retail price. This is what the landed cost needs to be. This is your FOB price. It's a simple calculation. You can use just a factor, and it will spit out the factor. And that will give you that's our target price. No, we did it a completely different way, which was we literally sat with the manufacturer and said, look, show us all your costings and we will give you a guaranteed margin based on this volume. and let's say the minimum order was 600 pieces of something, let's say it was
Yeah.
a t-shirt, we would literally go, based on an average order of 600 pieces, what is your price? So let's say we were working on a 10% margin, it'd be that. If we did anything over 1200, it'd be 5% margin. Let's now move more into sort of the financial side of things. So just give me an idea of your performance to date.
Yeah.
So, you know, what's happened in terms of turnover in the past 3 years, your road to profitability. You know, just talk to me about your performance to date.
Yeah, so we've been growing since. So we had a really good first year when we launched because of COVID, and that was a little bit of. It was a great start, but I think we then struggled with our supply chain, and so we sort of a little bit flatlined a little bit in our journey. So
like
we
a lot
had,
of businesses.
yeah. So 2021, 2022, it was, we didn't experience the same level of growth that we had in the first year. But since 2023, we've been growing around 40% every year. And so we've reached 1 million now. And we're hovering around break even. Yeah. So we're on a very kind of linear path on profitability. And as I said, we're 40% at the moment online. And I think a little bit that what we want to do is grow that, because that's where the margin is and that's where the profit's really going to come from. So yeah, so now we've got to where we are and we're looking to get to 35 million in 5 years.
Wow.
And really that, when you think about that, that's 0.1% of the UK market share, which is, which isn't a lot really, but it's huge in terms of numbers.
Okay, so how much are you raising?
We're looking to raise 2 million.
What valuation?
At 5 million.
5 million, and your past 12 months turnover was?
1 million.
1 million?
Yeah.
Your run rate based on the last 3 months?
Is about 1.3.
1.3.
Yeah.
What's your own aspirations in terms of a founder? So let's talk about in 5 years' time. Where do you want to be?
Well, I want to be dominating the bra market. I want to be the go-to brand when people think about where to get their bras and their underwear from. I personally would be looking to exit the business through an acquisition. I feel like, our strong sustainability credentials kind of puts us prime, acquisition target for like an M&S or for, a big retailer out there looking to kind of get into that. I think our fitting tape is a very unique proposition. And I think that's quite a big USP. And I feel like that's something that, makes us stand out from the crowd a little bit when it comes to...
There's some major advantages from a tax perspective as well, isn't there, I think, with IP?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think I'd be looking for an exit through an acquisition. And there has been some movement recently. There's, Victoria's Secret's has bought Adore Me a couple of years ago. And, we are seeing acquisition being kind of starting to pick up in the market. So it's definitely a viable route. And particularly, in 5 years' time, when we get to that target, I think it puts us in a good position.
Well, listen, Priya, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for
having you on today. Mm-hmm. I mean, your personal journey is incredible, from World Bank to INSEAD to working in luxury goods. Was it Chanel? Chanel and Burberry, to creating your own brand, and your proposition is really strong. You really understand what you want to do. I've been really impressed, and and I'm looking forward to seeing your journey, and hopefully, our paths will cross.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for having me. I really enjoyed our chat.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Wow. I was really impressed meeting Priya. I'll be frank, I really didn't know about her background. She comes from an incredible background. You think about it, she's worked at the World Bank. To get to work at the World Bank is incredible. She then went and did an MBA at INSEAD, which is probably, the best MBA institution in Europe. She then went on and changed her career and worked for Chanel, and then ended up as merchandising director at Burberry. So I was really impressed with her credentials. When it comes to the product, does it solve a need? Yes, it does. It's got a really unique USP in terms of really creating comfortable and sustainable underwear for women. So I've really bought into that. She knew exactly what she wanted to do. She wasn't interested in the glamour market of lingerie. She wanted just to make really comfortable underwear. So I felt from a product perspective, she, had a great product. And then